All right, here we go. Today it's my honor to sit down with not only one of the greatest rappers of all time, but one of the most prolific poets and storytellers in hip-hop. The artist who changed the direction of hip-hop from party music to speaking about social issues and drug abuse, which later set the stage for rappers like Chuck D and Kendrick Lamar.
Tell me more about my eyes.
Grandmaster Melle Mel of the Furious Five, welcome to Vlad TV.
In the building, baby, in the building.
Such an honor to really sit down, man. I've been such a longtime fan, and your music was really the soundtrack for when I first fell in love with hip-hop and started out as a breakdancer in the 80s. So to actually sit down with someone whose music I was really, really in love with for a very long time is definitely an honor for me.
My pleasure, my pleasure.
Well, this is your first time here, so I want to get into your whole story. So you grew up in the Bronx.
Yeah, the only place in New York to actually worth coming from is the Bronx.
Okay, so you grew up in the 60s and 70s and then the 80s.
Right.
And, you know, the Bronx is not the most high-end area in 2021, but during that time, it was really a mess.
Yeah, it was, around the Fort Apache era, all the buildings was burnt out. I mean, they had you had like 8 square blocks of nothing but, it looked like a war zone, some of the places in the Bronx. It's a good time, though. Good time to be, good time to come up. Wasn't nothing going on, so.
Okay, now, hip-hop was allegedly invented around 1973 with Kool Herc.
Yeah, the first hip-hop jams, more like B-boys, house parties. They used, the indoor, the rooms in the projects to throw parties. And that was around 73 when Herc did his party. But I was young then. In 73, I was maybe 14, I don't know, 13. Yeah.
Okay. So how old were you when you first started really becoming aware that hip-hop was in the Bronx and started to kind of build up?
Well, I was about 16 to 17, 77, the night of the blackout. The next day that I actually started out as a B-boy. So I used to, go to Herc jams or the first DJ we went to was DJ Smokey. So we went to his joint. But the day after the blackout was when I officially had got down with Flash, and it was me and my brother Creole. He already had Cowboy. Cowboy was already down. So, and that was in like 1977. So I was like maybe 16 then.
Okay. Now, drugs were prevalent in the Bronx during that time. Crack came a little bit later, and you addressed that in some of your music.
Yeah.
I mean, what year did you remember things started to kind of get worse in the Bronx?
Well, after we started doing music, at one point it didn't get worse. It had got better because cocaine was like the classy party drug, but it was always heroin. But that was when, growing up and seeing all the needles on the roof and, but it actually had gotten better. Like when we first started doing music, it was, cocaine was the cool drug, before everybody started getting really hooked on it. But I never really was into cocaine like that. I just bought it and gave it to people. It was like more like a handshake. You know what I mean? Here, take a couple of bumps. For girls or whatever. But it didn't start getting bad for me till crack came out because I wasn't never really a sniffer. I was a smoker. So when everybody started doing crack and it was something to smoke. Most black people they like to smoke shit anyway. So. I kind of got thrown off a little bit in the crack era. But before that, I had no problem with cocaine because I never sniffed it. I wasn't into it like that.
Okay, and crack came about the early 80s, mid-80s?
Yeah, early 80s, 80, 82, 80, 80.
Okay.